Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we'll be checking out a video that explains the exact relationship between Greenland and Denmark. Let's check it out.
Coming President Trump has recently stated that people do not even know if Denmark has any legal rights to Greenland. It's a shocking statement, but he's actually right. Most people, even in Denmark and Greenland, cannot explain the exact relationship between Denmark and Greenland. They have a vague idea that Greenland is somehow affiliated with Denmark, but is it its own country? What rights does Denmark have in Greenland? Could Denmark sell Greenland? And could Greenland become an independent country? Let's set all of that straight. So why does Greenland belong to Denmark? The short answer is historical reasons, like for any country's ownership of land in the world, I suppose. So we cannot avoid a history lesson here. Denmark owes its presence to Norwegian Vikings.
I love some history lessons.
In 985 started settling in Greenland just like they had settled in the rest of the North Atlantic. At that time, Greenland was empty. The Norwegians did not come to a foreign land where they subjugated natives. They settled in empty land. Before the Norwegians, prehistoric Eskimo tribes had been in Greenland, but they had disappeared again. And they are not the ancestors of the current Inuit people that make up the majority in Greenland today. When the Norwegians settled, there was a few nomadic tribes in northwestern Greenland at the same time, but they did not meet the Norwegians and they disappeared again. And they were also not ancestors of the current Inuit population of Greenland. The Inuits, who today are the majority in Greenland, came from northern Canada around the year 1200 AD, after having migrated originally all the way from Asia. They spread down the western coast of Greenland and eventually clashed with the Scandinavians in southwestern Greenland. The Scandinavian settlements are believed to have lasted until the second half of the 15th century. At its peak, they probably counted around 3,000 people, and you can still see a lot of ruins in Greenland today, but for some reason they disappeared again. It may have been caused by climate change, diseases, or clashes with the Inuits.
Yeah, from a video I watched earlier about Greenland, I learned that most of the people that came to settle in Greenland left because of the very harsh weather. Yeah, I think that's the reason.
Maybe boredom, we don't know. In the meantime, Denmark and Norway had formed a union from the year 1380. This union was led by Denmark and headed by the kings of Denmark. So 1380 is the year that Greenland came under the Danish crown as a Norwegian territory. Back home in Norway and Denmark, they did not know that the settlements in Greenland had vanished, so there was a long period between the second half of the 15th century and the year 1721, where they thought that there were still Scandinavians living in Greenland, but there wasn't. However, the kings of Denmark still continued to claim ownership of Greenland, and this was universally recognized and undisputed throughout the centuries. Greenland is mentioned in several peace treaties made by Denmark with our enemies, and that means Sweden historically, and those treaties were also approved by the other powers in Europe. The Danish king did send an expedition to Greenland in 1605, but other than that, although he did officially own Greenland through his ownership of Norway, he had no contact with Greenland. Then in 1721, the Danish-Norwegian priest 𝐋𝐈𝐊𝐄 was sent to Greenland by the king to re-establish contact and to re-Christianize the Greenlanders. From then on, there has been a permanent Danish presence in Greenland. In 1814, Sweden took Norway from Denmark after the Napoleonic Wars, where Denmark made the mistake of allying with the French, where Sweden changed sides to end up on the winning side. So that was the end of more than 400 years of the Danish-dominated union with Norway. In the Treaty of 1814, Norway was transferred to Sweden, but the Norwegian regions of Iceland, Faroe Islands and Greenland was written into the treaty to stay with Denmark. The only time in history where Danish sovereignty of Greenland has been disputed by another country was in 1931 and 1932, when Norway, who had become an independent nation again, occupied parts of eastern Greenland, claiming that it was no man's land. Denmark took it to the International Court in The Hague, and it ruled that all of Greenland belongs to Denmark. So there's an international verdict on that issue. In 1952, the local Greenlandic parliament unanimously voted to become a fully integrated part of Denmark so they could get equal rights and get access to development and Western civilization. Hot water, housing, healthcare. Greenlandic separatists today emphasize that there was no referendum in Greenland, and that is true. And they therefore claim that the Greenlandic people have never been asked whether they wanted to be part of Denmark. However, it must be noted that the elected politicians in Greenland unanimously supported becoming part of Denmark, and nobody at the time asked for a referendum. It was seen as a natural and positive step, and it was done with the support of the elected Greenlandic politicians.
This guy really has total knowledge about this topic. Like, I love the way he's explaining everything in details. After my last video where they claimed that Denmark owns Greenland, I had to go and do some research, and I read about the relationship between Greenland and Denmark, and everything I learned from my research aligns with everything he's saying here. So I'm really impressed. The guy has knowledge about what he's saying. He knows what he's saying. I love this.
This full integration of Greenland into Denmark was written into our constitution, and it was even approved by the United Nations Plenary Assembly in New York in 1954. So the whole world has approved that Greenland is not just owned by Denmark, but is a part of Denmark. And only Belgium voted against it, and I don't know why they did that. Greenland has since been given local autonomy, but it remains a part of Denmark. The people of Greenland are Danish citizens with a Danish passport. They elect members of the Danish parliament here in Copenhagen. They are governed by the Danish constitution. They are protected by the mighty Danish armed forces. They use the Danish kroner as their currency. They have Danish police, Supreme Court, and many other things. The head of state is the King of Denmark. The government of Denmark is also the government of Greenland, although the local Greenlandic government has been delegated the authority to take care of almost all matters. So on a daily basis, the government in Copenhagen does not interfere in very much, and we typically talk about Greenland as its own country because they are very different from the rest of Denmark, and they have their own identity, culture, language, heritage. And it is super important for them that we do not call them Danish, because they definitely don't like that, and we respect that very much. They are first and foremost Greenlandic, not Danish, but from a legal perspective and in international law, Greenland is not a country. It is a self-governing region of Denmark, just like the Faroe Islands is. They are a bit like Scotland, who is definitely able to not be English, although they are in the same country as the English. The home rule of Greenland is authorized by a law passed by the parliament in Copenhagen that is the supreme authority in Denmark, including Greenland. In that law, it is also written that Greenland can decide to become completely independent from Denmark. It does require approval by the Danish parliament, so it could be blocked by the Danish parliament, but the majority of Danish political parties has always said that Greenland can choose to be independent if they want. And therefore, it is important to understand that Greenland is not part of Denmark against its will. It is part of Denmark because they have not chosen to use the option that they have, that they can freely leave. Maybe this will happen in the future. I have to be honest that I really do not hope so, because I love Greenland a lot and I don't want to lose our union, but that will not be.
And I know because of the historical ties between Denmark and Greenland, they will not really want to part ways, which is really understandable.
Up to me. Greenland receives a direct subsidy from Denmark that pays for a massive 50% of the public expenses in Greenland. And on top of that, they have access to education, advanced hospitals in Denmark, embassies, and the entire bureaucracy in Copenhagen that can make laws for them and help them with many, many issues. Not to mention the defense forces that monitor the waters and the huge territory. If they cut ties to Denmark, they would have to do without all of that. So independence may not be as
It
easy
won't be
as it
easy.
sounds, but it
It won't be
certainly
easy.
remains the goal for most Greenlanders and their politicians. So I hope this video made you understand Dano-Greenlandic relations
Absolutely,
better.
absolutely.
And I apologize for my bad English, but thank you for listening.
You did absolutely well. I enjoyed his speech. Like he explained everything in detail. And what does he mean by apologizing for his bad English? I mean, he spoke fluently. It was really easy to understand. I could understand him very well. So yeah, this was really interesting. I enjoyed it. It was like the best history class I've ever had to attend. The guy explained, he took his time to explain everything in details, and that was so interesting. Yeah, so now we know for a fact that Denmark does not own Greenland, just like the previous video I reacted to insinuated. Denmark doesn't own Greenland. They are in a federation, so to speak. So this video was really educative. It explained everything in plain terms so that everyone could understand. So for those who never really understood the exact relationship between Denmark and Greenland, here you have it. I hope you're clear now on that relationship. So thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so. Turn on the notification bell so you continue seeing more updates from me. And if you want to watch the video uninterrupted, head on to my description. The link to the original video is there, and watch it uninterrupted and give this guy all your support. Thank you guys for watching. Until next time, peace out.